Good morning. Welcome again to our Sunday series. There's been a rather naughty joke about politicians that's been going around for a number of years. It begins with the question, how do you know when he's lying? To which the answer comes, when his lips are moving. Now, I've heard that joke applied to Bill Clinton and to Donald Trump, and even quite recently as a newspaper headline. The issue of integrity is a really, really big one. It's essential for anybody who aspires to a position of leadership. Integrity, we look for it. An integrity test must be applied always to the lives of our national leaders, our political leaders, our community leaders, and particularly to our spiritual leaders. We want to be able to believe what they say without trying to double guess their motives. We all know that if and when their integrity has been undermined through some lies or inconsistencies or hypocrisy, then it's extremely difficult to trust them from then on. Trust is something which is easily lost and hard to recover. It's especially scandalous when it's lost by Christian leaders, because so much depends on their integrity, not least the confidence of their congregations, the reputation of their ministry, the honour of the Lord whom we serve, and the respect of the wider world. There have been a number of Christian leaders in recent times who have disappointed us immensely. It's not necessary to name them here. Jesus put his finger on the issue when he said, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. And whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much." Jesus was asking his disciples to give attention to detailed holiness, the small things. This is for leaders and for led alike. There was an artistic movement at the end of the 19th century where painters built up their pictures using a series of small dots. They were called pointillists. Holiness is a lifestyle which is built up through a series of small daily decisions, dots. Decisions in making the right choices and in detailed, well-chosen judgments on how we behave. This is how godly character is built up, by one dot at a time. Now, a problem arose for the Apostle Paul regarding his integrity, or lack of it, as the Christians in Corinth had come to believe. He'd said that he would come to visit them, planning to arrive in Corinth by ship at their port in southern Greece, then to travel north from them, then to return again to Corinth before sailing east back to Jerusalem. So on his planned journey, he would have visited them twice. But he didn't do it. So here's the issue. If he can't be trusted with his diary arrangements, he says he'll come and he doesn't, then can he be trusted over other things? Can we trust the things that he's been telling us in his sermons? Is the question people were asking. Now, because Paul realized that integrity is a critical issue, he defends himself vigorously. He says that he has searched his conscience in order to check on his motives. After all, it's not an unfamiliar experience for any one of us to agree to some appointment long in the future, with our fingers crossed behind our backs, thinking that we don't really want to go and that we'll surely be able to find an excuse before the day arrives. So Paul checks his conscience and says, "We have conducted ourselves with holiness and sincerity." He denies a lack of integrity. But he goes on after that and denies that he was talking out of both sides of his mouth at the same time when he promised to visit Corinth twice in quick succession. And this again is what he writes. When I planned this, did I do it lightly? Did I plan it in a worldly manner, in the same breath saying yes, yes, and no, no? He had actually made his plans in all sincerity, but clearly what he'd intended hadn't happened. Having defended himself, Paul then says that whilst the Christians in Corinth may question his integrity, they cannot question the integrity of God. What a fascinating combination of ideas to speak of the integrity of God. Could there ever be anything but integrity in him? Whatever would be the purpose in him lying to us? What would be the purpose of him promising something that he didn't fulfill? He'd be exposed in a moment, and no one would ever trust him again. Why would God want to ingratiate himself with us, his creatures, by telling us the things that we want to hear? What would be achieved by that? No. God never speaks out of both sides of his mouth at the same time. It isn't yes and no with him in the same breath, says Paul. Rather, it's always yes. Always. This again is what he writes. The Son of God, Jesus Christ, who was preached among you, was not yes and no, but in him it has always been yes. No matter how many promises God has made, they are yes in Christ. Paul may have failed to keep his promises for justifiable reasons, but God will never fail to keep his promises to us because of the combination of his faithful character on the one hand and his sovereign power on the other. Once you find a reason to doubt somebody, for a long time afterwards you will be saying to yourself, yes, but what about what happened before? Whenever you look back at what has happened with God before, all we can see is him keeping his promises again and again and again, and not letting people down. He's proved himself in every direction that we look, in every event, in every human contact, in every circumstance, on every horizon, in every bit of history. He has integrity, and he has proved it. Abraham was promised to be the father of a great nation. It's done. All nations were going to be blessed through his descendants. It's done. The land of Israel was going to be given in perpetuity to the descendants of Abraham. It's done. He was going to send the Messiah. That's done. All of the promises have been fulfilled in detail. It has been a yes from God. He has proved himself to be utterly trustworthy, reliable, faithful, steadfast, consistent. He's a yes God always. But what about my Lamborghini? I haven't had it yet. And my £1 million house, and career advancement, and early retirement, and successful children. But they're not in his package. Sorry to disappoint you. But forgiveness? Yes. Direct contact with heaven? Yes. Answers to prayer? Yes. Strength in weakness? Yes. Comfort in sorrow? Yes. The presence of his Spirit? Yes. Access to heaven? Yes. Yes, and yes, and yes again. These things are in his package, in his promises. The integrity of God means that he is a promise keeper. The pointillist God means that he is a promise keeper in detail. That's the kind of God we need, and that's the kind of God we have. As a result, he requires Christian leaders with integrity and Christian congregations with integrity as well. God bless you.